The hypocrisy of these pro-life Christians is amazing. And the evilness that they support coming out of this administration is the most un-Christ-like stuff you could possibly imagine.
I made a video yesterday about the Trump administration requesting large cuts to the WIC program, particularly the part of the program that helps babies and young kids get access to fruits and vegetables. Sue, whose bio reads, "God is good all the time God is good," sent me a DM that said, they need to get jobs, pay for fruit and berries, and not beer and cigs.
We're going to pause that video for just a moment. First of all, what kind of Christians says that? Let me back that up. What kind of Christian is supposed to say that? We see a lot of them say stuff like this. But what kind of Christian is supposed to say that? That they're supposed to get jobs and buy their food instead of their beer and their cigs. She's gonna this content creator. I'm gonna play the rest of the video because it's deserving of being played. Obviously, she breaks down the numbers and she explains to you how many working families rely on this, and how many children would be negatively affected by these cuts. But what kind of a Christian are you if that's your reaction? That's the most un-Christ-like shit I've ever heard. Where in the Bible does it say thou shalt get jobs before thou shalt receive assistance? I mean, that's what you guys like. God is good all time God's good, right? You guys like to live by the Bible. How come you never do? The rest of the video, because it is worthy of hearing the information.
Berries are a fruit, Sue, but more importantly, the video is about programs helping to feed infants, children under 5, pregnant postpartum moms, and seniors. Feels like something God would care about, Sue, feeding the children. I'm also really tired of this narrative that people should just get jobs and then they won't need nutrition assistance. Millions of full-time workers rely on nutrition assistance, Sue. I bet you think you're super supportive of the military. Did you know that about a quarter of active duty service members are considered food insecure? Lots of military families rely on nutrition assistance, including WIC. Perhaps, Sue, we should ask ourselves, well, first, why someone who makes such a public show of her faith seems to act in direct opposition to its most basic teachings.
Amen.
But then, why a country with this much wealth makes working families, military families, pregnant moms, little kids, and seniors struggle this hard for basic nutrition, and why we have a president enriching himself, his family, and his billionaire friends while trying to cut the programs that actually help the American people.
I'd like to answer that question. Because Sue's faith is fake. It's a faith of convenience. It's a faith that says, I'm going to give a shit about the things in this religious text when it matters to me, and not when it doesn't matter to me. It is cafeteria belief. I'm going to pick and choose the things I'm going to get outraged about. I'm going to pick and choose the things that I'm going to adhere to. She doesn't give a shit about feeding the poor. She doesn't give a shit about helping the needy. She doesn't give a shit about any of the things that her God and her Christ would actually do and care about. She just likes to use her faith when it comes to justifying her hatred and her bigotry and whatever else exists within inside that extraordinarily black heart of hers. And yeah, millions of people that work their ass off need WIC. I know several of them. People that work hard to put food on the table for their kids and simply can't do it. Do you know why, Sue? Because people like you keep voting for politicians, for elected officials who keep refusing to make sure that we can legislate people a living wage. Because people like you, Sue, keep hammering and hammering and hammering away at the people who work the hardest in this country to just put the basic necessities on the table as being not worthy of a livable wage in this country. People who you rely on to serve you your food or your coffee or clean up after you when you've had another affair in a hotel room. I'm assuming with the extraordinarily overt Christian tendencies. All those people that work hard to make sure that everybody else's lives are convenient, but don't make enough money to survive, even though they're working full time. You don't want people on WIC? Fine. Help us legislate a livable wage. Help us pass legislation that says if you work 40 hours a week, because that's what you want, Sue. You want them to work, right? How about you help us pass legislation that says if you work 40 hours a week in this country, you should have a wage that allows you to live without government assistance. Not an extravagant wage, not a wage that allows you to jet off to the south of France every summer, but a wage that allows you to put a roof over your head, food in your belly, get the medical care that you need, and have the basic transportation to get to and from the places in life that you need to get to and from. Basic livable wage. That'll draw millions of people off of programs like WIC because they'll be able to earn the money that they would need at the jobs they already have. You down for that, Sue? I'm betting you're not, because your hypocrisy knows no bounds. You don't want to make sure they have a livable wage, and you don't want to give them government assistance. So where does that leave us, Sue? Where does that leave you, a follower of Christ, when it comes to these people who are working and can't afford to put food in their stomachs? Just starve in the streets? Is that where we're at? Is that the new Christian way? Oh, you worked hard and didn't make enough money? Fuck you, starve in the street. Yeah, that about tracks these days.